The Mechanicus begin to realize that their treasure is no longer a secret, and the defenses of Morloc are raised and prepared, the skies above it littered with starship-seeking mines the size of have-blocks, whilst below on the surface, huge gun and rocket batteries stand proud amidst the Manufactura, their crews artificially slave to their systems and unceasing in their vigilance of the sky. Within the same system resides the chapter homeworld of the Void Stalkers Space Marines, an old chapter whose ties have always been close with the armies of the Machine God. Old oaths that have not passed the lips of a living soul in several thousand years are called upon, and the Void Stalkers are honor-bound to answer, making swift progress to the planet to consort, fight and die beside their allies. But honor and duty to the Imperium and the Machine are not the only forces at work on Morloc. While the Chaos Army of the Reckoning move ever onwards through the warp, the word of Tzeentch has already been whispered in secret by factions within the countless billions that toil across Morloc's surface and its factories. Such cults have moved unhindered and in the shadow for more than a century now, and their tendrils have spread and corrupted even some of those in the upper echelons of the Great Forges. Whilst the Void Stalkers will defend Morloc and its secrets for now, the Sons of Altarion are a different and unknown quantity, bringing with them the weakness and ambition of the Imperial bureaucrats, even as their battle barge, the Indomitable, moves into the system. As they dock above Morloc, whilst the great minds above its surface see no threat in the ship and leave it be, the influence of the dark cults below push scrap code and lies into the sleeping heart of the Iron Priestess, a Night Warden of that world and mechanical wonder of her kind. Even as the Lords of Morloc begin to realize something is wrong in the perfect binaric harmony of their domain, the Iron Priestess wakes from her slumber and calls Chapter Master Sagan of the Void Stalkers to her side. Her malfunctioning Auspex scan shows evidence of a failed Geller field and the corruption of the warp on the Indomitable in the skies above. Honor-bound and with a heavy heart, Chapter Master Sagan accepts the findings of the Night Warden and orders his closest forces to make all haste to join her in destroying the corrupted Imperial forces. As the first waves of the Sons of Altarion begin to land, they are met by a hail of bolts of fire and the thunder of a titanic warhorn. With no other option, they fight back, battling to secure the valuable landing site to ensure the next wave of the Second Company can deploy safely.
Hello everyone, welcome to Warzone Morloc, our first battle report that we've ever done. Our intention is to link a series of games all set in the Morloc system, with a strong narrative theme running through them all. Our lists are not competitive, just a collection of what we like or what we think looks cool and thematic on the board. When characters die in-game, they may not feature in the next game while they are treated for injuries, while heroic feats will boost the unit's abilities in future battles. Here is Mission 1, the initial contact between the Sons of Altarion investigating House Morloc's dark secret, an STC unit at the core of the world, and the Void Stalkers, a loyal but misguided chapter, bound by oaths that have led to this tragedy. Let's take a look at the armies. Okay, we're here with Nick's army, Space Marines. You'll just take us through what you've got.
Certainly can do. This is the Space Marine chapter, the Sons of Altarion, successor chapter of the Ultramarines, and they're a 2,000 point army, and I'll give you a little idea of what the individual units are, just so you're aware. This is a project army, as you can see. Some of it's painted, some of it is not. That will change as the games progress, but for the time being, bear with me. Okay, leading the Sons of Altarion, you have Captain Gregor Exius wearing his Gravis armour. He's currently wearing a Santic halo as well as a relic. To his right you have Lieutenant Severian and Proxys. Severian's got a auto bolt rifle and Proxys has a power sword. And to their right is Brother Librarian Tellus wielding his foresword. Next, for some of the troop choices, you have 3 intercessor squads. You have the first one, Intercessor Squad Cerberus with their bolt rifles. You've got another Intercessor Squad Hades, also equipped with bolt rifles. And finally, entirely unpainted for the time being, you have Intercessor Squad Ceres with Stalker bolt rifles, the sniper there. Some of our more elite units now, we have Hellblaster Squad Eclipsis armed with plasma incinerators. We have an Inceptor Squad Apollos, 3 of them equipped with assault bolters. And then we have Aggressor Squad Volcana, made up of 5 Marines, each with Flame Storm gauntlets, which I'm hoping will do a fair amount of damage to everything Bill throws at me. And lastly, you have Reaver Squad Minervus, that's a 10-man squad equipped with heavy bolt pistols, combat blades, and grav shoots. You have the Repulsor Tank Archaic, which I'm hoping will be an armour killer, being it's got a las cannon and 2 las cannons, along with various other armaments. And finally, we have Redemptor Dreadnought Brother Destor, who is equipped with a macro plasma incinerator, onslaught Gatling cannon, and a whole host of other things, which are also killing armour if I'm very, very lucky.
Okay, this is roughly 2,000 points of my Space Marine chapter, the Void Stalkers, with a Mechanicum Lord of War super heavy detachment. This is Chapter Master Sagan of the Void Stalkers in Gravis armour, Bolt Storm Gauntlet, Power Sword, and his 2 lieutenants, which are standard armament from the Dark Imperium box. Intercessor Squad Voss, armed with bolt rifles. This is Squad Mercian, armed with the plasma incinerators. Got 3 interceptors with the bolter variant. This is my Redemptor Dreadnought Ancient Merlane. In the story, he's the first chapter master of the Void Stalkers. He was killed in action and still serves in death. My squad of aggressors, I've gone for the bolt and rocket variant. My repulsor tank, armed with the las talon, the twin las cannons, and all the other lovely extras. Lastly, we have the Iron Priestess, who is my Mechanicum ally. She's a Night Warden, armed with the Thunder Strike Gauntlet and the Gatling cannon.
Iron Priestess to all Morloc forces, you are to deploy to Zone Bravo to assess and engage hostile Astartes. Your objective is to secure the field at 3 strategic points, with precedence paid to the city defense turrets. The enemy approach in 3 waves, as do our forces. Captain Sagan to make forward recon and hold the city until my arrival.
Captain Sagan acknowledges.
Okay, quick overview. We've deployed and we'll go through where each unit is. Starting down here.
As you can see from my side of the board, I've deployed all the way up to the central objective there. So I've currently got Brother Destor just hiding himself very nicely behind the building there, just waiting for something interesting to come along.
Nice.
I've got my Stalker Bolter equipped Intercessor Squad Ceres sitting on top there, looking all sniper-like. And we've got Intercessor Squad Hades with their bolt rifles currently guarding my objective just down here. I'm going to hold that whilst in colour.
Denoted by a festive candle.
Yeah, just because, you know, festive candles and all that. And finally, just to really make sure everything's going to keep it more interesting, we actually finally have as well, we have an aggressor squad of 5 units, 5 models rather, Volcana, currently tucked in just under here, being that the central objective is just next to it. This is the central objective. We decided the festive candle just wasn't quite good enough for the central model. That is going to be the central objective, so nice and close to it. Because frankly, we just like seeing what happens.
And over on my side, because we have to divide the army into thirds, I've got my repulsor tank, which currently has my Hellblaster squad and my captain in Gravis armour on board, and Merlane menacingly holding my rear objective. Okay, everything's set. Day 1, mission 1, battle report 1, let's do it. Okay, Void Stalkers turn 1 movement. I've only got 2 units on the board technically, and they've moved a very short distance, well they're full distance up, and to move up the road to face the Sons of Altarion. Okay, Void Stalkers shooting phase. Both the Dreadnought and the Repulsor managed to get some shots off and kill. How many there?
There's 3 members of Intercessor Squad Hades were taken out by las cannon and macro cannon fire.
So they're down to 2 men plus the lieutenant, and that's all I can fire there. So I've got no real threat range there. Got the cheeky little aggressors still hiding down there. That's all I can do at the moment. That's over to turn 1, Sons of Altarion.
Around movement phase 1 has been very limited. Brother Destor decided to poke his head out just because he's rather unhappy about what's just happened to some of the intercessors, taking all the pot shots at the repulsor. The aggressors, having seen what happened to the intercessors, are staying well in cover for the time being, and the other squads are remaining where they are. Everyone else from the other contingents won't be coming until next turn, so that's the end of the movement phase at turn 1. So Intercessor Squad Ceres have actually managed to strip a wound off of the Redemptor over there, a small consolation for the loss of 3 of their men. Meanwhile, Brother Destor is now going to take 5 shots with his macro cannon at that repulsor.
Big roller, here we go.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 5 lovely hits with an overcharged macro cannon. No ones, which means 5 hits at strength 9.
Awesome. 3s to wound.
5
oh
wounds.
my god, the repulsor took 10 damage from the plasma incinerator fire.
10 wounds, 10 beautiful, beautiful wounds.
So, absolutely mullered.
At the end of the Sons of Altarion on turn 1, that Intercessor Squad there, Hades is holding the objective. Got the remains of that Intercessor Squad are still holding theirs, and Brother Destor is currently doing very well, having taken 10 wounds off the repulsor, and is thoroughly quite pleased with himself. The aggressor's still cowering quietly in the ruins.
Over on my side, you've got the repulsor that's taken some horrendous damage, but is still moving. You've got my dreadnought there, holding my objective just, down 1 wound from Stalker Bolter Fire. Let's go turn to the ship test for these guys that got shot up by the dreadnought.
Don't roll a 6, don't roll a 6. Hooray.
Void Stalkers movement phase 2. The second wave have come on. The aggressors have moved up onto the board up to 9 inches. Intercessor Squad has moved on to secure the objective while the Dreadnought's moved on. And a second Intercessor Squad has moved into the ruined area to the left of the board. The Dreadnought has moved up. He's still on 12 wounds, so he's still going strong. My Hellblaster Squad and Captain got out of the repulsor. I moved on to the central objective, and the Raspberry repulsor has moved the shorter distance to be in range.
Things aren't working quite so well for the repulsor just now. It's not done any damage to the Dreadnought, and so far its Gatling cannon hasn't managed to strip off any wounds of the Intercessor Squad. However, he has just managed to roll for 3 Fragstorm grenade launchers, firing 12 grenades in their direction. Let's see what happens.
Okay, what am I looking for?
3 4+ to hit with its damage. Excellent.
4s
Dice
on
rolling
all
for
for
4s to
4s.
wound.
Oh man!
Oh, it's kind of dice rolling we've come to
Straight
expect.
to the Intercessors on the roof. Unbelievable. End of the turn 2 shooting phase for the Void Stalkers. The repulsor disappointed me massively. It was shooting up at the squad up here, which are now gone, but no thanks to that because it missed almost everything. The marksmen here, the Hellblasters, absolutely pulverised the remaining 2 members of the Intercessor Squad,
Leaving the lieutenant very lonely.
leaving a lonely lieutenant on the roof. So normally that would be first blood, but this particular mission doesn't include that. My captain couldn't really see well do much, so he's just there providing bonuses to the shooting. The Dreadnought, however, gave it large and stripped 6 wounds.
6 wounds
off of his peer over here.
Ancient versus ancient.
Yeah, and he's now down to
7
7 wounds left. And that's it for my turn 2. There's not much else I can do. I've got my backfield being held over here, and that's all my shooting done. So off to the Sons for their turn 2.
Sons of Altarion movement phase. We've had several different movements coming in from the next wave of units. Starting with the aggressors have decided they're not happy with their current position. They've moved up from the building and are punching up towards your friends with the plasma unit. the plasma weapons.
Yeah.
We've got Gregor Exis, the captain, and his squad of, what the hell are they called? Hellblasters. The Hellblasters moving in off the side of the board from there. The lieutenant's remaining where he is, lonely though he may be. And the other intercessor squad remains guarding the objective beneath him. The repulsor tank has come on from the edge of the board and is backed up by Brother Destor, the Dreadnought, who's now just moved off to the side so we can get a nice couple of shots off, hopefully, damaged repulsor. We have another unit of intercessors and one of the lieutenants pushing up from the back of the board to make sure we've got some aerial denial. And the librarian has made a bold move to come on from this side of the board and see what psychic madness he can conjure up from there. Just to really start playing around with things, we've just had 2 units of Reavers grav shooting down the board. Both of them, due to the problems caused by Bill's move for area denial, have had to push well back from his table edge and well away from his units. However, they are trying to get as close to the objective as possible, and I'm just going to try and scupper his plans. But I'm very aware that next turn the Iron Priestess is going to make an appearance. So in the meantime, these gentlemen are deep strikes from high orbit with their grav shoot. Well, that made for a rather spectacular psychic phase. My librarian decided to try and cast Might of Heroes on one of the nearest units. However, he failed miserably as the range was out. However, he then gave Smite a go. I've managed to roll 11 for the charge, which caused D6 mortal wounds on the closest unit, which happens to be this particular captain. And it's not 4 wounds off him.
He's done him like a kipper.
And as he had an extra wound due to one of his the item he was wearing, he brings him down instead to 3 wounds. So we're going to fire their Flamestorm gauntlets at the Hellblaster squad right here. Which gives them 10d6 automatic hits.
It's ridiculous.
This could be very, very bloody, very quickly. Going for a lot of hits. I'm going to count these up once you turn that camera.
Talk to me about how many hits you've just caused.
Well, welcome back to the sea of pain that is my aggressors.
No, don't be polite. Just tell me how many hits.
Well, that's 38 automatic hits.
38.
This particular squad of Hellblasters.
38 hits.
I won't use any particular words for our younger viewers, but this squad is probably in for a whirl.
The wound. I load on the floor. Not so good.
Not so good to start with on the first
That's only
set.
the first 10, by the way.
Bit better this time. Another 6.
Here come the last 8. Stupid amounts of wounds.
3+ saves.
1 dead. 2 wounds. 3 wounds, 4 wounds. 5 wounds. 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 wounds.
One guy has 1 life left.
Can you believe
one wound. 1 remains. Unbelievable.
You can't kill me.
So this squad is going to fire the repulsor tank. They're overcharging everything because why the hell not? And that's within 15 inches, so that's 10 rolls of a 3+ to hit. That's not how many ones, but the captain is nearby for rerolls. That's 1, 1, 2, 1. Let's reroll those. Oh, we're good. The charge, that is 8. Strength 8 weapons with 8 shots at the repulsor tank, which is already not faring too good. So that's going to be 3 pluses to damage it. So no, that's 4 wounds suffered.
So the repulsor has been destroyed by the Hellblasters over here. Let's see if it explodes. Nah.
It's been an eventful shooting phase for turn 2 for Sons of Altarion. The Hellblasters down here have finally finished off the repulsor tank of the Void Stalkers. That is gone. The aggressors in the centre use their devilish Flamestorm gauntlets and
cheated.
took 9 horrible wounds from the Hellblaster squad of the Void Stalkers in return. There was one guy remaining with 1 single life. However, the lieutenant up here with his Stalker Bolter, still smarting from the loss of his squad, managed to put a round through the helmet lens of the last remaining guy, so that squad is now gone. The repulsor tank down here, its twin Lascan managed to strip a solid 6 wounds from the Dreadnought at the far end of the field. Meanwhile, Brother Destor, the Dreadnought, took a couple of wounds off the Dreadnought as well, so both have done some quite an effective job.
Took off 6 in total, he's down to 2.
At least 6, if not more actually.
Down to full raspberry mode now.
Absolutely. The librarian had very little else to do this side, nor did the squad back. The Reavers at the back here, who've all landed, have been letting off rounds of their heavy bolt pistols. Each one of them has taken a single wound off the squads they're facing. However, I think they may suffer some serious retaliation in a minute. I'm going to try and charge them, and we'll see how that goes. Turns out the charging phase was every bit as eventful as the shooting phase. The aggressors stormed in, despite the Santic Halo giving a 3+ invulnerable save to the captain of the fine Space Marine army. He was there. Unfortunately, he's now a fine paste and vapour in that space where 10 power fists just worked on him. Meanwhile, on the other side, a spectacular dice rolling. Despite having a large charge distance to cover, each of the Reaver squads got into combat with one of the Intercessor squads over here. On the one side, we had 2 models killed by the Reavers for the loss of one of their own number. Meanwhile, in the other combat, very little happened. There was just 1 wound taken off on either side. At the end of the Sons of Altarion Phase 2, currently holding the objective at the rear of my deployment zone. Thanks to my aggressors killing off the captain, I am holding the position for the middle objective. Meanwhile, we are working on the basis that troop choices have objective secured rules. Therefore, despite my Reavers being in contact with the Intercessors, they are close enough to the objective that they are in control of it. So 3 points to Bill, 6 points to me.
Void Stalkers, movement turn 3. Iron Priestess has come onto the table at last. And she's not happy. She's deployed just at the edge of the deployment zone, right there. I've also got my Inceptors that have just arrived from Deep Strike, and my very heavily damaged Dreadnoughts advanced 4 inches towards the aggressors there. Over here, I've got my own aggressors who are lining up a shot on this squad of Reavers after my own Intercessor squad broke off from combat and moved away to allow that to happen. Stalker's shooting so far. The Gatling gun has taken out some of the Space Marines here. The rocket pod done some damage to the now deceased Dreadnought. My Dreadnought managed to limp a bit closer to the squad here, but fired its remaining plasma incinerator gunshots into the Dreadnought, which is now deceased.
Just
vaporized. So very happy with that. And then over here, we're about to see what happens when you roll 48 attack dice against a squad of 5 or 4 Reavers.
This is because the aggressors haven't moved yet. We now have 48 shots between their auto bolt storm gauntlets and their frag storm launchers. This is going to be chaos.
So we'll roll the first
2 rolls of 24. Looking for 3 pluses.
That was 14 so far. Here's the second half. Low.
29 hits that actually strike, 4 pluses to wound. Lots of wound. What we now need to do is just roll 15 armour saves of 3+. No problem whatsoever.
Can't be done.
I'm about to say, what could possibly go wrong here? 3+ armour save. 1 dead. 2 dead. 3 dead. Oh, 1 guy remains.
Always. So here's my Dreadnoughts charged into the aggressors, about to face some hot Overwatch.
It's a very dangerous move, being that he's only got 2 wounds remaining, but I admire Gregory. However, he has now got 10d6 hits coming his way of Overwatch. Not as best I could have done, but not bad.
So we need 5
to wound.
Here we go.
This is just the beginning. 38 attempts, right. 1 set down, 3 wounds.
Here we go. Loads.
Further 5 wounds.
A load of dice.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13 wounds.
And now rolling to wound.
5 pluses to wound on 13 attacks. 1, 2, 3 wounds.
I just need to roll.
3 armour saves. If he gets at least 2 of these, he's fine.
Saved.
Oh
saved.
no, this isn't looking so good.
That's how we roll. It's the end of the Void Stalkers assault phase, turn 3, the fight phase, turn 3. A lot has died. We'll start with the Knight. What happened with the Knight?
The Iron Priestess charged in, done horrendous damage to the captain. However, his Santic Halo with its invulnerable save has saved him. They've done absolutely no damage in return, so that is a locked combat at this exact moment. Meanwhile, the Dreadnought that charged into my aggressors, the Sons of Altarion aggressors, has done some wound. It's taken out 2 of them, despite flailing around madly, being that it was wounded. However, the return power fists have destroyed it entirely, so the Dreadnought is now gone. Over in the Reaver battle, over in the far right corner of the board, we had 1 for, I think, 3 wounds dished out to the Interceptor, so 1 of their models died. and in return I believe a Reaver died as well, so it's a locked combat over there as well. So plenty of things killed, but pretty much locked combat all round across the board. The last remaining Reaver has taken his leadership test after the Bolt Storm assault shot at them, and he's just failed it, so
cheerio.
Bye, buddy. Sons of Altarion movement phase 3. The repulsor tank has pushed up into the ruins in between down the road so it can get a better view of the Iron Priestess. The Interceptor squad is, not the Interceptor, the Intercessor squad has moved up behind it to support it as best it can. The Intercessor on the far side remain at their objective. Meanwhile, they've been joined by the rather cowardly Captain Gregor Exis, who's decided that discretion is the better kind of valor. They decided it would be much better to not be stepped on by the Iron Priestess, so he's made a move to break away from combat and get back into the rubble here. The Hellblasters have been rather brave. They've also detached from combat, but due to the Ultramarines rule, I will be able to shoot back at the Iron Priestess at the moment. The Librarian has moved from his position over on the tabletop where he was standing from here. He's pushed up into the road, and as I rolled a 6 for his run, I've been able to get him to the objective, so he's able to hold it, while the aggressors have pushed up. Oh no, they've not pushed up, sorry, they've just moved up after the combat, so they're actually kind of
they consolidated, didn't they?
They consolidated so in the last phase, so actually they're not moving. They're just going to see what happens when Flamestorm gauntlets need Interceptor armour. The Reavers are remaining exactly as they are, however, they have been backed up slightly by my Interceptor squad who've just come in to join the fun, who've landed and are hoping to absolutely annihilate the Intercessor squad directly in front of them and try and remove that threat from the objective. So that is the end of the movement phase for Sons of Altarion. Now moving on to the shooting phase. Altarion, the repulsor did absolutely nothing. Its las cannons pinging harmlessly off the ion shield that the knights put up. The Hellblasters managed to do a little bit better. They managed to strip 2 wounds off it, but I fear that might be the last thing the 2 of them ever do. The Lieutenant up above them tried to just take a little pot shot just to try and weaken it, but did absolutely nothing. He managed to miss entirely, considering it's the largest object on the board. The aggressors have thrown a storm of fire at the Interceptors. Due to the strength of their armour, however, they have, believe it or not, despite a huge number of wounds, 2 of them have died and one of them is hanging on for dear life. He's still burning nicely inside his shell, but he's hanging on like you wouldn't believe. Meanwhile, at the back, the Interceptors have emptied their assault bolters into the Intercessor squad. They've managed to take out a further 2 models, leaving just the Lieutenant and 1 man remaining. At this point, we're going to be moving on to the charge phase. So the aggressors have finally swatted that last Interceptor out of the sky like the bug it was. Meanwhile, the Interceptors over in the corner here have charged in. Their shoulder barge has managed to knock a wound off the Lieutenant. However, in return, they haven't done an awful lot of damage themselves in the actual combat phase, whereas the Lieutenant's managed to cut one of them down and wound another.
Like a dog.
No, we'll see. And finally, over in the other combats, I think 1 wound was inflicted onto the Interceptors, however they managed to kill a Reaver in return. So yes, things are still very, very locked and in a stalemate.
There's an update on the objectives.
So the objectives that we held for more than 1 turn we get 3 points for, any new ones you hold you get just the 1 point for. In this case I still hold 2 objectives and Bill holds the 1, so I've got 6 more victory points, Bill has 3. Which takes our grand total at this exact moment to 7 for the Void Stalkers and 11 for the Sons of Altarion.
Void Stalkers movement phase turn 4. The Iron Priestess has had enough. She's charged at the repulsor and will hopefully smash it and throw it into that squad there. But we'll see how that goes. My only other existing units and my aggressors, who have got a grudge with them boys over there, and then it's just the combats over here to resolve. So I'll see you after the shooting phase. Shooting phase, Void Stalkers turn 4. The Knight, the Iron Priestess, managed to shoot off 6 wounds.
No, negative. She managed to shoot off 10 wounds.
So shot 10 wounds.
10 wounds with a rocket pod, Gatling gun, and stubber.
Gave it large and messed it up. So that's down to 6. And then the only other shooting that occurred,
Aggressor versus
was
aggressor.
the aggressor on aggressor action,
Brother on brother.
where a hail of bolt storm gauntlets and rocket pods took down 2 of the 3 aggressors there. And that was it. Let's see what happens in the fight phase. Fight phase, turn 4, Void Stalkers. The most epic of moments occurred when the Iron Priestess punched the repulsor tank to death. It didn't explode, and she got the arse with that, so she picked it up and threw it through this building and killed a couple of dudes from this squad here. The most awesome moment was when this lieutenant chopped down the 2 Inceptors in single combat with his power sword, thus leaving my lone troop choice to secure my objective. We'll see what happens with turn 4 for the Sons of Altarion. Sons of Altarion, turn 4.
The movement phase has been rather inventive. I am aware this is our last turn, so it's all getting a little bit thematic and cinematic at this point. For no good reason other than I want to see what happens when a bunch of bolter shells hits an Imperial Knight. One squad has moved up, and the other Incest squad still staying within range of their objectives, also getting out. The lieutenants keeping within range. The librarians coming a little closer are also staying within range of the objective in the centre. The Hellblaster squad has moved up with the hope of putting some rounds into the lieutenant, just to say thank you so much for wiping out my Inceptors. And the aggressor has moved up as well, with the hope of dealing some damage at the back here. I'm very aware that objective is still being held by one single Incest mole, and I want that thing to die. The Sons of Altarion shooting phase, turn 4. Bolter rounds do about as much damage as I expected to the Iron Priestess. A few of them managed to get through to hurt her, but miraculously she saved each one. It has included from my captain, who's decided to show himself out the doorway there. He's starting to poke his head out. The Intercessor squads on both sides and in front, and the Lieutenant at the top. Nothing has hurt it. The only thing that did hurt it was the Psychic phase, where my Librarian has done the decent thing, used Smite to strip 2 more wounds from the Iron Priestess. Meanwhile, the plasma weapons of the Inceptor squad, what remains of it, managed to take another 2 lives from the Lieutenant over in the distance over here. Meanwhile, the final remaining aggressor from the Sons of Altarion has managed to take a single wound from the remaining Inceptor at that point.
But he's alive.
But he's alive. The bugger just won't die, it seems. So that Sons of Altarion combat phase, turn 4. So this is pretty much the end of the game. The aggressor has done a very good job of using his power fist to finally mulch the final Inceptor that was holding that point. So being that that no longer has an Inceptor next to it, that is now a contested point, so I don't think there'll be any victory points for that. No. Over on this side, we've still had the same slug match going on between these guys. We've got 1 more Inceptor killed and 1 more wound dished out to a Reeve, I believe, but otherwise everything remains exactly the same. Over in the centre, the captain has finally put in a good showing. Gregor Exius has finally used his power fist, and he's stripped off a further 6 wounds from the Iron Priestess, bringing her down to 8 and therefore knocking her abilities slightly, which has been very useful because she's then only managed to step on 2 Inceptors and wipe them out in return. So that's leaving still a locked combat for the end of the game, which always makes for a nice cinematic look. So that is the end of this particular combat phase, and that will be the end of the game. So therein is the end of the first game of Warzone Morloc. It is being that the game relied entirely on victory points to do with objectives. It's a win for the Sons of Altarion. They ended up with a quite decent 17 victory points against the Void Stalkers 7. However, I think we can generally agree the entire game has been something close to a massacre. The game seems to have resulted in a large number of blue models off on my side of the board, a number of purple ones on the other side, so we've had a very, very decent game with a lot of locked combat, which of course is a risk when you have 2 armies that are so evenly matched. The Iron Priestess has shown her worth and how dangerous she can be, because there's some of the other models I would expect a bit more of, perhaps, such as the Repulsive did rather less than they hoped for. However, very impressive job from both sides, and that is the first end for the Warzone Morloc game collection.
Thanks for watching.
Brother Mullane lived only now in the sarcophagus that regulated his existence, each system that shut down like a scent stolen from him. The Void Stalkers' dreadnought that entombed him sparked and leaked fluids onto the soft earth like blood, and his failing vision caught sight of his opposite number, the bright blue of the other dreadnought lying broken on its side. Merlin knew whose remains lay beneath its damaged ceramite. He had fought beside him once before as allies, and something now made him open his comms, hearing the wet, rasping suction of life support systems that he knew so well. "Destor, do you live?" The reply was long in the coming and was spoken through what remained of a mouth. "Yes, I do, Merlin. Oh yes, I remember you as well. The darkness drifts across my vision, but the Emperor awaits me, and I go gladly, but he does not wait for you." Merlin shivered in his pod, a terrible sense of foreboding building which suddenly brought his senses back into blinding focus. "Destor, the Indomitable, your Gellerfield failed. Is your soul still your own? Whatever traitorous tricks you wish to play, save them for the dark gods awaiting your presence. My soul belongs to the Emperor, and is strong as the field protecting our ship." Merlin had fought 1,000 enemies across 1,000 worlds, had heard every conceivable lie and falsehood fall from unrepenting lips, and knew there was no deception here. Ignoring the stream of curses now issuing from Destor, Merlin desperately opened channels on every Imperial frequency he could find. "All Imperial forces, Void Stalkers and Sons of Altarion, disengage. We have all been betrayed. It seems the forces of chaos have not just arrived on this world. They are already here.